An advice we very often hear in spiritual circles is to let go of your stories, to drop any kind of narrative you have about what you are and what the world is. And there certainly is some kind of wisdom there at the heart of this advice. But it's also very easy to misunderstand it. If we misunderstand what's being suggested, then what might happen is that we dissociate from life in a very unhealthy way. In our attempt to deny any kind of narrative and relative story, we might also end up denying conventional reality altogether and just wind up in a gigantic spiritual bypass, which, if anything, eventually will just increase your suffering. But like I said, there is something wise about this advice. So how can we use it without ending in some kind of unhealthy dissociation? We should simply slightly adjust this advice. Instead of letting go of stories, we just need to stop believing in them. And that really is an absolutely transformative shift. You see, when we let go of all stories, how can we function in conventional reality? You might say that stories are not needed to function, but you might be underestimating the tremendous power that stories have for structuring human life. Every country has its origin story. Every person has its origin story. And if we take that for granted, we're not noticing the things that stabilize the human being in conventional reality. Stories can function as the glue that makes a society stick together, for example. Human rights, after all, are just a story. There's nothing inherent in the universe which says there need to be human rights. Human rights are something universal. They are the fabric of existence. It's not like that at all. Human rights are simply a story which we have collectively adopted. But of course, it's a useful story. A law which requires that we treat all human beings with dignity and respect is a kind of fiction we create, but it's a useful one. It's a fiction which skillfully, at least hopefully, guides our conventional behavior and how we interact with others. And likewise, when I personally will go to work tomorrow, there's a certain kind of story about who I am in this context, what my job is. What if I completely drop that story? Forget all about what got me there and what I have to do there. That really wouldn't work out too well. Again, there is a kind of narrative about my job which serves its purpose. It lets me know what I need to do, what's required of me in this situation. But how is skillfully accepting this kind of story different from believing a story? Well, the difference is that when we believe in the story, we contract around it, we identify with it. And now my story about what my job is not just a kind of useful structure anymore. It's all of a sudden what I really am. Now I really am the psychologist at work. And if you somehow threaten my position, I get defensive and hostile. If I lose my job, then I've lost something essential about myself, because that really was my identity. But if it's just a role I play, a skillful narrative which can arise in the correct circumstances, then I can dance with life, interact with it, be fully involved with it in a useful way, without all this additional suffering of identifying with my role or over-identifying with my role. So in this way, it's really a matter of having your cake and eating it too, because you can be fully involved with all the stories. You will never get away from that. Every person you will meet will have a kind of narrative in which they see you. And again, that story can be useful, and you can therefore fully engage with it. But the issue is when we get lost in it, when we identify with something that's just a role and take that to be our essential being. what we really are is not limited to any of these stories. It's inherently beyond that. And when we have recognized this freedom, we don't need to be afraid of stories and structure, because we can take them with a kind of lightness. It's a skillful, relaxed interaction with the narratives, instead of trying to push them away. Because all that will do is just create more resistance. You are denying part of your human experience, and therefore just increasing the suffering which you were trying to escape from in the first place. So simply relax from this fixation. Relax into what you already are. And then live from this unbounded openness. Be fully involved, yet not lost in experience. And then simply enjoy life as it presents itself. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask a question in the comments. Other than that, you can get into touch with me through my website. And I hope you will have a great day, and I will see you right here for the next video. Thanks for watching.